Yeah, I was start with, can you be a happy social leader? And can you use the happy principles in a charity? So I'll first start by talking a little bit about who we are. So we're TLC, Talk, Listen, Change, not tender loving care, although we do offer a lot of tender loving care as well. And we're a new charity that started on the 1st of April. So as Henry said, we've been operating in Greater Manchester since 1981 as Relate, so part of the National Relate Federation, which most people have heard of, but most people think it's a white middle class marriage guidance and marriage counselling organisation. And I was brought in by Relate in Greater Manchester 3.5 years ago because our Greater Manchester charity was struggling. So we'd run out of cash, we had 6 years of deficit budgets, and I was brought in with the remit of you do something differently or we close, and you've probably got about 12 months to turn it round. So at that point, we did a piece of work about thinking about who are we actually and what we're here for, and realised that what we're here for was relationships, because that's what we believe in. That might be in a marriage as Relate work, it might be working in relationships through counselling, but actually for us it's about relationships. So we had 2 years of fixing some problems and difficulties in the organisation. So I had a year of every time I turned over a stone, I saw something that had gone wrong and I had to fix it. And that kind of got us through till 2016, by which point we'd understood our strategic vision, where we were going, and we'd come up with the basis that we're a relationships charity, and what we want for each individual is to be surrounded by safe, healthy and happy relationships. And for us, relationships are every touch point in a person's life. So that might be the relationship with yourself, it might be the relationship with your partner or ex-partner, with your family, with your friends, with your school or with your employer or with your local community. And from that concept, the idea of TLC was born. So at that point, it was clear that we'd diversified away from Relate and our strategies were different. And for us, it was around all those different relationship touch points and a whole range of support, therapies and programmes of work, which help create safe, happy and healthy relationships. So D-Day for us was the 5th of December last year, so 2016, when we voted as an organisation. So every member of staff, every trustee, every volunteer, so 150 people, voted unanimously that we would leave the Relate Federation and set up as a new organisation, TLC. And we launched as TLC on the 1st of April. So I suppose the question is, are we a happy organisation? So this is Anna, our Head of Domestic Abuse Services, at the end of our launch on the 11th of April. So official launch, we've got an orange brand, so everything's orange and white, and I think on the 11th of April, everybody realistically was happy because we had had a huge journey to get through to launch. We'd had to leave lots of stuff behind. We'd had to get lots of new ways of doing things. And there was a huge sense of euphoria when we got there on the 11th of April. Day to day, are we happy? We're trying our best. And so what I've done is picked out some of the key things that we've done, particularly in the last 6 months, but really in the journey from Relate over to TLC to show you how we do it. Now, anybody who's read the Happy Manifesto will take some of the key lines from this, because this is where we've actually picked up all of these tips. So our first thing is making our people feel good. We, as a relationships charity, really believe that the relationships that we have with our staff and with our volunteers and our trustees are absolutely key. We have about 70 paid staff, 60 volunteers, which has grown massively in 3 years. So 3 years ago, there was 1 full-time member of staff. Now we've got 41 full-time equivalent members of staff, which is actually 29 full-time people and a number of people working part-time. So what we've done over the last few years is a number of different ways of making sure that staff are really engaged and volunteers are really engaged in our organisation. And our focus is on being the best possible employer that we can be, recognising that as a charity, we often won't do that through salaries. We're not a bad payer of salaries in the charity sector, but we're never going to match the big boys in the private sector. We're also going to have to create our employment offer in different ways. One of the things that we've done is work through some of our staff who are maybe unrepresented in the staff team or don't have a voice in the same way. So we have a LGBTQ staff group for all our lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender or queer staff. That's the name that they've come up with for their group, which is 10 members of staff across our organisation. And those members of staff, it's a closed group, I'm not part of the group, I'm not allowed to know who's in the group because not everybody in the group is openly out in the organisation. And that group of staff are doing a really critical piece of work at the moment where they're reviewing every organisational policy, every organisational piece of communication that we put out, everything that we stand for, and testing, are we really an organisation that's based on relationships? And they have full transparency of everything. So they have sight of every board meeting, every board set of papers, every senior leadership set of papers, every policy. And they have we have an agreement with them that anything that they don't think we're doing well enough, they come to me, they raise it, it gets dealt with. So I have a contact with one person from that group who's open and happy to be out in the workplace. And what we're trying to do with that is test that the organisation we're meant to be serving, for the people we're meant to be serving, matches with the organisation we are internally. We also have a staff forum, which works in similar ways to people I've met before. So again, it's a group of staff, it's led by one of our team. I am allowed to go, but only at invite only, so I don't have to be there. And actually that's staff across the whole organisation coming together and talking about what's going well. I think Savannah said before, what should we keep doing, what should we stop doing, and what should we do differently? And that's very much what the staff forum. It's not mandatory, people can attend if they want to. We change the location, we change the date, the time. Sometimes they have minutes, sometimes they don't. Sometimes I get an invite, sometimes I don't. Some of that flexibility I find really difficult to sit with, but actually it works really, really well. And certainly through the transformation and the change process, the staff forum was the vehicle for keeping people engaged, for people saying we understand the communication, we understand where we're going, or we don't, we need something different. I know people have said about it's not going to the pub and having staff socials. We wouldn't say it is, but we would say for part of our journey that's been really important. So staff team building activities have been really key. As a relationships charity, 2 years ago we didn't have good relationships across our staff teams, and as we've grown and diversified, we'd happen to fall into organisational silos. So our staff social activities are about bringing people together. So this is a photo of our staff picnic. So where you can't quite see the signs at the top, but the signs at the top say we love TLC because, and Vicky, who's our mediator, says we love TLC because it feels like a family. Because ultimately one of our values is about having relationships to be safe, happy and healthy. It's absolutely essential that we model that day in, day out with all our staff team. My two children are pictured in the egg and spoon race. So we try and talk about bringing your whole self to work as well and being authentic and being who you are. We don't want you to come in and put your work clothes on and have to be a certain person. We want you to be the real you, and therefore we want the real you to work with the people that we work with. All of our staff activities are self-organised by at the moment, I think it's called our staff team building committee. They change their name every now and again. They have different members. They organise all of it. We fund it through staff donations. We don't use any of our kind of core costs to run it. We've had some incredibly competitive events. And the latest thing that the staff team are doing is they've separated into 4 different teams to run a staff fundraising challenge. So they've all got a target of bringing in £5,000, which is the target they all came up with. So 4 different teams bringing £5,000 of unrestricted income into the organisation by March, or end of March, so that we can spend it on more services that help more people. And there's a really healthy degree of competition at the moment between the 4 different teams. And part of that for us has been about creativity and people being able to really think with the whole self and bring it into the organisation. One of our other key elements over the last couple of years has been freedom within clear guidelines, and we very much use the pre-approval that was mentioned earlier on. The photos of Paige, who's our marketing officer. So Paige is 23 and is our second youngest member of staff. She was pretty gutted when we recruited a business administrator who was 21 because she quite liked the title of being the youngest member of staff. Paige is our brand guardian. So we launched beginning of April with a completely new brand, and we're building a brand from scratch. So we're trying to get TLC out there so that people recognise us, people know who we are. So it's Paige's responsibility to build the brand. We did some work at the beginning about working out what those guidelines were and what was brand guardian, what did that meant. And then we've said, off you go. it's up to you. You're our marketing expert. Paige reports directly into me, so can use me for support as and when she needs to, but off you go. Some of the differences that we've seen in how we've built a brand are just amazing. So our new website launched about 6 weeks ago. The first day I saw the website was the day after it launched. The first few weeks, Paige was like, oh, what do you think about this colour? What do you think about this font? At the end, I was like, well, let's go back to what we've said about pre-approval. You know the outcome we're aiming to get for, off you go. And you almost saw her come to life because actually she's really creative, she thinks really quickly, she wants to test new things, and actually the website is amazing. And the difference that we've seen in traffic through to the website in the last month is unbelievable. Equally, Paige has got responsibility at the moment for running our first ever advertising campaign. So when we had the Relate name, we never needed to advertise because people know Relate. It's on every agony aunt column that you read, Relate will be mentioned. It's on daytime TV all the time. Nobody knows the name TLC. So we're just about to launch our first advertising campaign, which is also the first time as a board we've ever committed any money to advertising. So it's took me probably the last 12 months to convince the board that money on advertising is well spent and that we can demonstrate a return on investment. And to do that, we've just taken on our first form of social investment. So we've had our first ever repayable piece of finance since 1981. So this is a big kind of strategic decision for us, and also it's a high risk decision for our board. Paige is running the advertising campaign on the same basis. So she's got the guidelines, she knows what return on investment we're looking for. We've tested it out on the website, we know she can deliver, and off she can go. And again, the process is happening that I only see the copy when it's been approved. So she's able to ask me questions as she goes through as many times as she wants. She can, if she wants me to look at stuff, she can do. It's not about just letting her go without any support, but it is about giving her that complete freedom to be creative and do what she can do to the best of her ability. Our first advert goes live on the 1st of December. It's now been approved by the magazine it's going in. And it's happened to go in a magazine which is local to where I live. So the first time I see it will be when it comes through my door at home. And I'll be honest, there's a little bit of me that's absolutely terrified about that, because that means that my neighbours, the parents at my kids' school will see it. But actually the difference that you've seen in 6 months as we've took this approach to Paige has been amazing. And what's happening is it's spreading out. So we also have a building transformation team. So I don't know if people have been to Relate, or if you have ever been to Relate, all Relate buildings across the country look the same and look very traditional voluntary sector. So you walk into a building with pretty bad chairs, a few of them might have a few stains on them, not always that comfy, not particularly comfortable environment. And what we've been saying over the last few months is our building doesn't match our new brand, it doesn't match who we are, it doesn't match our identity. So we put it out there for the team to say what we want is we want a new building. We haven't actually got very much money. So we can't afford a new building. We've got complete transparency about our finances, so everybody knows we haven't got very much money. We can probably cobble together £1,000. We've got a building in Manchester, we've got a building in Stockport. See what you can do with £1,000. So we did the same thing, so sat down. This is a staff team of a group of people of 6, so 5 members of staff and a volunteer who've all put the hand up and said, oh, actually, I'm actually quite creative, I can think about how I could do that. Give them £1,000, £500 for 2 different centres. We work with 3,800 people a year, so it's quite a lot of footfall coming through the organisation. And the building transformation is the first stage of it is next Friday. So the whole building's being repainted on Friday, and a huge amount of new furniture has been ordered, and we've got different designs on all of the walls. Something that I didn't quite think was doable for £500. And I only found out yesterday that it's not doable for £500. They've managed to contact a rail organisation who have agreed to come and put a team of 20 engineers coming into our building next Friday to do it all for free. So it's actually going to cost us about £100 because B&Q have agreed to sell us the paint at a very reduced rate. So all we're actually doing is providing the paint, and the rail charity are doing the rest. And I am continually blown away by when we give people the complete freedom and they've got the vision, they've got the values, they know where we're going, the results that we're getting for the staff team are absolutely amazing, but more importantly for us, for the people that we're working with. The final bit, which is my real honesty of this is what we're trying really hard to do, but we're not quite there yet, is recruit for attitude and train for skill. When we started to think about this, the first thing we realised is we didn't really know what our values were. Until the end of March, we had relate values. They're all very good values. We'd not actually done a piece of work of understanding what TLC values were. So our first stage was to work with every single member of staff and volunteer to create our values charter, which is a really lovely hexagonal document which I couldn't get on a PowerPoint slide. But basically it boils down to three things: to be vibrant, to be transparent, and to be rewarding. And every bullet point there came from a post-it note that members of staff and volunteers came up with. So it's a values charter that's been built really from the bottom up. And I think one of the things that I'm really clear about at the moment is we haven't completely got every member of staff who shares our values. We've got some members of staff who've joined us in the last few years who've absolutely got with us on the journey. And we've had members of staff who started with Relate 25 years ago. And although may have voted to become part of TLC, actually really did quite like the old way of doing things. So building on the values charter, we've created a My Contribution document. So we'll still have some line management one-to-ones, but My Contribution, which will be linked to how people progress in terms of pay across the organisation, is all about how do you contribute to living out your values day in, day out? What can you demonstrate that you do? Again, that's been delivered and built with staff. And last week, we tested our first set of recruiting purely on values, and we tested it with our Chair of Trustees. So the most senior position in our organisation, so the chair of our board. And we had a bit of a balance with the board, so some of the board members still wanted very formal questions because that's what we do. So we did do a bit of that as well. The final decision came down to how the Chair of Trustees engaged over coffee. So we went for a coffee outside of the office, or Diet Coke, because I don't drink coffee, but for a Diet Coke outside of the office, and had that interaction about values. Actually, we know you've an experienced chair, we've seen your CV, yeah, you did fine at interview, but actually what we want to know about is, do you actually live these values, and how can you demonstrate it? Can you connect? If I say things that aren't in line with the values, do you call me out on it? So actually, we've just, I think the call's going in today to appoint our new Chair of Trustees based on values. And I don't think we're quite there yet in terms of convincing the organisation it's the way to go. We're not there yet in convincing the staff team it's the way to go, but we're definitely on that journey. The other thing that we've done is, I think it says in my bio that I'm a current CLAW social leader. So the CLAW Fellowship is a leadership programme for social leaders in the sector. And one of the key elements of CLAW is about being authentic, so bringing who you are into the workplace, and starts with know yourself, be yourself, and look after yourself. And it's also been a really interesting process about being comfortable with the word leader rather than the word manager. So actually we're a leader of people rather than just doing kind of control management. So we've just finished running a 21-day leadership game of bingo, which is something that was developed through our CLAW Fellowship. And that was open to every member of staff across the organisation, not about position, about your attitude towards whether you want to be a social leader. So we had a team of 14 people, very different levels, people who work part-time, people who work full-time, people with manager in the title, and people who were our frontline staff, so our administrators. And we carried out together 21 different leadership activities, a third of which were all about bringing your true self to work. So we had a Slack channel that went through. And again, one of the things I was amazed by and very humbled by was how honest people were about why they came to work, why they like working for us, and what the values are. So I don't think this is one that we're there yet with. We've got more to do. So I suppose just to finish, I would say, does it matter? So I think it's easy to say in a private sector, you see increased profit, you see growth. Does it matter in the charity sector? And absolutely, it does. This is us, we won some awards last week, which is fantastic. So that helps. It helps to say we're an award-winning charity, which we now are. We've grown massively, so we've tripled our growth in the last 3 years, which means tripled our turnover, but it also means tripled the number of people that we work with. We've seen increased outcomes for the people that we work with. But the main thing, I think, is that being a happy social leader or being a happy organisation has led to a staff team who are more engaged, which has led to better outcomes for people. So I ummed and ahed about whether this was first or whether this was at the end, because this is actually why we do it. So this is a real quote that came in from somebody we worked with last week. I'll just read it to you. I just wanted to tell you how grateful I am for the professional help you have afforded me over the course of the last 12 months. Your support and advice has meant so much to me. I wanted you to know that throughout my life, I will always remember this moment. I came to you in a bit of a mess, and whilst it has taken 12 months' work, I am proud of the progress I have made. I am proud again to be me. I know that I still have a long way to go, but you have given me hope, and I cannot tell you how much that means to me. I am upset to have to be cut loose, but I know the timing is right, and I feel ready to stand on my own 2 feet. You have given me the confidence to be the person I wish to be and to communicate better with others. We, as a couple, have hope because of you. That was an email that I got last week about one of our members of staff who, Neha, works with us 6 hours a week. So this isn't her main job. She's a GP in her day-to-day life, and she works with us 6 hours a week. The reason that we embrace happy is because of that. And that's the reason that I would urge all charities, social enterprises, people working to make people's lives better, to think about being a happy social leader. I'm conscious of time and conscious that lunch is coming and people will get hungry. So the question I was going to ask is actually possibly more for you to think about, and I know there's a number of charities and social...
Have a couple of minutes.
Have we got a couple of minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. Was around if you're not in the charity or social enterprise sector, how could your approach to corporate social responsibility increase your organisational or corporate happiness? And if you're here and you're in the charity or social enterprise sector, I'm sure if people on your tables aren't, they would benefit from your advice and guidance and ideas. I think a couple of minutes on that.
Okay, thank you very much. That was excellent.